The name Dracula instantly conjures a vivid and terrifying image. A pale-faced man with piercing eyes, sharp fangs, and blood-stained lips. This archetype has become so ingrained in popular culture that even today, movies, novels, and online content about Dracula revolve around this same haunting character. The idea of Dracula has influenced not just literature and cinema, but also left a deep imprint on the collective public imagination. But the real question is, was Dracula just a fictional monster, or is there historical truth behind the legend? Who was the real Dracula? Did he really drink human blood? Or is that an exaggerated myth? What connection did he have with the Ottoman Empire? Was he a ruthless killer, a brave warrior, or perhaps both? Some names in history don't just stay in books. They embed themselves deep into human consciousness. Dracula is one of those names, still synonymous with horror, darkness, and mystery. Mentioning his name brings to mind a mist-shrouded ancient castle perched atop a lonely cliff. Wolves howling in the night, and villagers hiding behind religious symbols for protection. This is the story of a man whose eyes reflected terror, whose pale face and fanged teeth became the symbol of death. He is Dracula, often regarded as the king of all vampires. What might surprise many is that Dracula was not merely the product of a writer's imagination. The legend has roots in the real-life tales of a historical figure. He holds a unique place in global literature and folklore, surrounded by the haunting landscapes of the Carpathian Mountains, superstitions involving garlic and crosses, and a mysterious castle lost in the clouds. In this video, we will explore the transition from the fictional Dracula to the real historical figure behind the myth. We'll discover how a 15th century Christian prince earned the title of Dracula, struck fear into the mighty Ottoman Empire, and ultimately became the most terrifying character in literature and film. Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula is a cornerstone of vampire literature. But Stoker's Dracula is no ordinary monster. He's intelligent, dignified, powerful, and centuries old, well-versed in history and human nature. With mystical powers and a remote castle in Transylvania, Dracula plans to expand his darkness to modern London. In the novel, Dracula can transform into a bat, a wolf, or even mist. He scales walls like a lizard and possesses extraordinary strength. However, he also has significant weaknesses. He cannot cross running water, fears sacred objects like the cross and garlic, and is vulnerable to sunlight. To survive, he must drink human blood. This character mesmerized global audiences. Stoker wrote the story through letters, diaries, and newspaper clippings, adding a sense of realism. Dracula wasn't just horrifying, he was magnetic, blending evil with charm, challenging the modern world with ancient darkness. The novel follows young solicitor Jonathan Harker, who travels to Dracula's castle to finalize a property deal in London. He quickly realizes he is a prisoner, not a guest. Meanwhile, Dracula ships himself to England in coffins, planning to unleash terror. Enter Professor Abraham Van Helsing, who teams up with a small group to stop Dracula. Van Helsing is a scientist who knows that defeating this ancient evil requires both modern science and ancient traditions. The novel captures the eternal clash between good and evil, shaping how generations imagine fear itself. This was the story of the fictional Dracula. But who was the real Dracula? Let's find out. The real story of Vlad III, known as Vlad the Impaler, is far more complex and blood-soaked than fiction. A 15th century ruler of Wallachia, modern-day Romania, Vlad earned his infamous nickname for his gruesome method of impalement, driving large stakes through his enemies and leaving them to die in agony. Wallachia was a small but strategically vital region, squeezed between the Ottoman Empire and the Kingdom of Hungary. Control over this land meant military and political advantage. As a result, Wallachia was often caught in the middle, sometimes paying tribute to the Ottomans, and at other times allying with Hungary. The name Dracula reveals much about Vlad's origins. His father, Vlad II, was inducted into the Order of the Dragon, a Christian knightly order created to defend Europe from Ottoman expansion. In Romanian, dragon translates to Dracul, making Vlad II known as Vlad Dracul. His son became Dracula, literally son of Dracula. However, Dracula also had a darker meaning, the devil. So to enemies and critics, Vlad III became son of the devil, further feeding the terrifying legends around him. Vlad's personality was shaped heavily by his traumatic childhood. As part of a political deal, he and his brother Radu were sent to the Ottoman court as hostages. Although treated as guests, they were effectively prisoners under constant watch, used to ensure their father's loyalty. During this time, Vlad learned the Turkish language, culture, and military tactics. But he also witnessed the harsh discipline and punishment of the Ottoman court. These experiences hardened him and sowed the seeds of future vengeance. When Vlad returned to Wallachia, the region was in chaos. With rival nobles gaining power, he consolidated control through brutal methods. In one famous event, he invited disloyal nobles to a feast, then had them all killed. He impaled the elders and enslaved the younger guests to rebuild a fortress. His reign targeted not only political enemies, but also criminals, beggars, and anyone he deemed harmful to society. His goal was to build a strong, orderly state, but his methods were excessively cruel. Vlad's most famous conflict was with the Ottoman Empire under Sultan Mehmed II, the same ruler who conquered Constantinople. Mehmed was considered unbeatable. Vlad refused to pay the annual tribute to the Ottomans. When Ottoman envoys visited his court and refused to remove their turbans, citing custom, Vlad nailed the turbans to their heads, a blatant declaration of war. In retaliation, Sultan Mehmed sent a massive army toward Wallachia. Despite being outnumbered, Vlad used guerrilla warfare, surprise attacks, and psychological tactics he had learned during captivity. When the Sultan approached Wallachia's capital, Târgoviște, he was met with a terrifying sight: a forest of 20,000 impaled Turkish prisoners. Corpses on stakes stretched across the landscape. The horrific scene demoralized Mehmed's army, prompting retreat. That night, Vlad launched a daring night raid to assassinate the Sultan himself. Though he failed, the boldness of the attack caused chaos in the Ottoman camp. However, despite these victories, Vlad could not secure long-term stability. His pro-Ottoman brother Radu, backed by local nobles, turned against him. Seeking help from the Hungarian king Matthias Corvinus, Vlad was betrayed and imprisoned. After years in captivity, Vlad returned to power briefly but was soon killed in battle in 1476 during renewed conflict with the Ottomans. Some sources say he died fighting. Others claim he was assassinated or mistakenly killed by his own men. His severed head was allegedly sent to Sultan Mehmed as proof of death. Vlad's burial site remains unknown, adding to his legend. Vlad Dracula is a deeply polarizing figure. In Romania, he is remembered as a national hero who defended his homeland against a mighty empire. In other regions, he's viewed as a symbol of brutality. Most accounts of his atrocities come from German and Russian sources, often written by enemies. Some tales describe him inviting the sick and poor to a feast, then burning them alive to eliminate poverty. Another famous story recounts how he left a golden cup in a public square. No one dared steal it, fearing his signature punishment: impalement. It worked. Some reports say Vlad would dine among the impaled corpses, reflecting his sadistic nature. His reign instilled fear, but also strict law and order. How did a brutal prince become a bloodthirsty vampire in pop culture? The credit goes to Irish writer Bram Stoker. While researching Eastern European folklore at the British Museum, Stoker encountered tales of the Strigoi, undead spirits who rose from graves to drink blood. He also read about Vlad the Impaler. Combining the two, he created a darkly charismatic vampire lord. Dracula was born from both folklore and fact. Stoker's novel wasn't immediately a success, but with the rise of cinema, Dracula gained worldwide fame. The 1922 German film Nosferatu depicted him as a monstrous, animalistic figure. In 1931, Bela Lugosi's portrayal made Dracula suave and aristocratic. Later, Christopher Lee gave him a more savage twist, while Francis Ford Coppola's 1992 film portrayed him as a tragic, romantic anti-hero. Dracula evolved with each generation, becoming a permanent icon in books, films, TV, and video games. Today, the line between real and fictional Dracula is blurred. Romania has embraced the legend, attracting tourists to Bran Castle, commonly known as Dracula's Castle, though Vlad may never have lived there. His actual stronghold, Ponari Fortress, now lies in ruins. Yet the myth endures. Dracula remains a symbol of fear, seduction, and power, a blend of real history and Gothic fantasy. And somewhere, in the fog-covered valleys of Romania, the shadow of the real Dracula still lingers. If you found this video fascinating, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing you more content like this.